What's up, gamers, and welcome back for more WotC-20 gameplay live from GamesIRL in Avon, Connecticut. Today's gameplay is going to be VenuCenter versus Dark Tyranitar. You can see starting actives. We got one on the bench extra for VenuCenter, and it looks like it's going to be Cleffa versus Execute. On the hand on the right side, we can see a quick trader coming off, as well as two fighting energies, so we'll see that Eek for sure. Always good to have some sort of bench set up before eking off to your opponent. And we see a Larvitar pulled out with the trader. I think I saw a Dugtrio and a Diglett in this build, which I have not seen before, so good to see some different build variants coming in and out as people tweak lists. Larvitar comes down onto the bench, fighting energy to Cleffa, and I think we'll see an Eek. You can also see for later reference, there's an Oak in hand, two Oaks in hand, it looks like, in an Energy Stadium. So one Energy and one Oak will be going to the bin. Energy Stadium is down. A fresh 7 are drawn. We'll see if there's any basics that get slammed down for that. And you can see a Goldberry, Gust, an extra Cleffa. Might not be a bad idea just in case of Cyclones. And a Fan Club comes down. So great turn one for Dark Tyranitar. Curious if we'll see the Diglett. We do see the Diglett, so I'll have to pull that up. But right now, the Larvitar on bench is from Expedition with a water weakness, so not relevant in the grass matchup here. We will see the grass matchup matter for the Dark Pupitar and the Dark Tyranitar cards, though. And Eccentric comes down, so don't have to worry about the Diglett right now. Very curious, though, about what the plan is for Diglett. Eccentric, as we know, will most likely evolve. Oh. Okay, Energy Stadium does get that one fighting back, so only oaking away a single Oak, not bad at all, especially when we know there's a copycat in hand. You can see a Dark Dugtrio. And second, Cleffa comes down onto the bench. Pretty much as good as a turn one can get in this format. And you get the free Eek. Meanwhile, VenuCenter needs to play some catch-up. Looks like the Execute is going to go for... Let's see, it hit a Tails on... What is that attack? Growth Spurt, I assume? Or Sleep Powder? Not sure. But it was a Tails for the baby rule, so it doesn't really matter. And back to Dark Tyranitar. We'll see if we get any evolutions up. Now the Diglett's coming down. Fighting attachment to the benched Larvitar. You can see a Warp in hand there. And it looks like it will be another Eek, so... Ivysaur comes down, Exeggutor comes down, another attach to Exeggutor, so I guess we're just going to start swinging for the fences. There is a copycat. And it looks like that was a 2, so it's going to be a called shot, 20 damage to... Looks like they're picking the Sentret here. Curious what else is in hand for Copycat not to immediately come down. While they're figuring that out, the Diglett on bench is the Rocket Diglett with 40 HP. It does have 2 attacks that I don't think will matter, so we won't get into it right now. And the Furret comes down as well. Yep, and there immediately is the Dark Dugtrio. So this card gets a lot of chit chat, but we don't see it played a lot. It's from Rocket. Sinkhole is its power, so whenever the opponent's active retreats, they have to flip a coin, and on tails, the power will deal 20 to that Pokemon. So it does punish retreating. Very low 50 HP on it. Looks like we're computer searching for something? No? Oh, that was for Furret. My apologies. I saw 2 cards down while reading off Dark Dugtrio. It does have an attack that could matter here. Knockdown is 2 fighting energy. It does 20. And on a coin flip, Your opponent flips the coin, which is a little unique. If they get a tails, the attack does 20 plus 20 more damage, otherwise just 20. So definitely an interesting mon. We'll see if it comes into play. And instead, Cleffa's going to free retreat out to Furret. And with the DCE attached, spinning attack is going to deal 30. Now, both Cleffas are in danger here. If a grass energy does come down again, that will be 30. Instead, we're going to see a gust to the Dugtrio. That's too bad. That is grass weak. And it does have a retreat costed 2, so a little hefty. And into an oak, so discarding the copycat, not using the copycat last turn. And there's the other grass energy. A Bulbasaur comes down, and this is definitely going to be a called shot. A Clef comes down as well, so now Venusaur is definitely catching up. And I'll deal 30 to the Cleffa with energy for a prize, so big turn. Keep in mind too that Exeggutor, whenever it shall decide, can go for a super explosion. We'll discuss it if we have to. Furret is going to tuck 2 here. It looks like it's going to take 2 fighting energy and put them back into the deck for what I assume will be a warp energy. And yep, that will be the warp. We have yet to see the Goldberry come down. It looks like we're just going to bring back in the Furret. And spinning attack will most likely mark another 30 here. Dark Dugtrio now back on the bench. Now they have to consider that another grass energy could come down, which would tag 40 to the bench, which would be a problem, simply because, well, it's not enough to knock out the Larvitar, but assuming that the Venusaur can also become active, that would be 60 to the Furret. I don't see a way for that to happen, though, next turn right now. Copycat for 5, it looked like. Not sure why the Goldberry was not committed. We have a computer search, fighting energy, warp energy, Cleffa, and another computer search, so rolling for an energy stadium. That's a tails. Furret will mark 30. So VenuCenter has to consider what to do with the Exeggutor here. You can see a grass energy already in hand. And there is a very well-timed Pokemon Center off the top. So that's too bad. Takes away all 60 damage that Furret had marked. Now Exeggutor can stay in the active. Taking some time to read energy trans. VenuCenter doing what VenuCenter does, which is moving all the energy just to use a Pokemon Center and get some major healing on the board. Energy trans moving energy back around. And only 3 of those energy will go back to active. Ivysaur now evolves on the bench. And a copycat of VenuCenter's own side here. I assume we'll see a called shot into that other Cleffa and really slow things down. So what started as a really good turn 1 for Tyranitar has now been stifled by consecutive good turns by VenuCenter, a little bit of disruption. And Cleffa not even mattering here. And Executor takes out the other Cleffa. So now Dark Tyranitar does have a fan club. They can attach to Larvitar. Not sure if there's a Vending Mime in this Tyranitar deck. That would definitely help out with the grass weakness. It's going to be an uphill battle. Computer search getting rid of Warp and Cleffa. With such a small hand, I'd like to see Cleffa come down, but take a look at the deck here. Ooh, I think I saw a Pichu in there. Yeah, that is a Pichu. Alright, Pichu might be the best line of play. This is definitely not a favorable matchup with the grass weakness and no Vending Mime. And VenuCenter was not forced to play Vending Mime at the beginning of the game as inactive or something, so no reason for them to drop it here now. Considering whether or not that Pichu is the right pull with Comp Search, that Pichu would not be able to do much to the Executor. I think, no, that was not the Pichu selected. Not a ton of answers in this deck for this matchup. Alright, it was a computer search for a copycat. I think it's for about 5 or 6. Alright, Dark Pupitar comes down. Notable grass weakness there. Called Shot will not do super effective damage, but it doesn't really have to right now. One more grass energy, you can see that Larvitar sniped off. It'll see the Dark Dug Trio picked off. Furret is 3 spinning attacks away from knocking out that Executor. I think what you would... It's an aggressive play. What you could do here is bring Dark Pupitar in. Mark 40 on the Executor to at least threaten a knockout. And try to bait Executor. Well, no. Venusaur could just come in that case. Retreat cost 1 on Executor, assuming you have another grass in hand, yeah. Alright, that was for Energy Stadium. And sacking off the Dark Pupitar does not feel good. Tyranitar's pilot doesn't know there's a grass energy in hand, but it's safe to assume. It's a high energy count deck on the other side of things. And I do think I heard the pilot say he has a grass energy in hand. Another comp search, not sure what we're digging for. Entire Diglett line gets discarded. Not high HP, susceptible to getting sniped. Yeah, 50 HP can always be a liability. Cleffa gets gusted, so going for a prize here. Not sure what's on the prize pool. Maybe there's a vending mime. And it is a Tails, so that's a prize. Didn't see what it was. Executor comes back in. And there's the attach we were talking about last turn. Energy trans the other grass off of Ivysaur to Executor. Will call shot for 50. That takes out the Dark Dug trio. Now the real big problem is that Dark Pupitar only has 60 HP. One more grass energy would also knock it out. We're seeing a Town V for the Diglett line. One fighting energy and the other Diglett line again. Not seeing much of a path to victory here. You have to try to survive to Tyranitar and just get the most ridiculous Mountain Smasher rolls ever. No real draw either, just 2 energy in hand. Honestly, I'd retreat the Furret and I would go for Explosive Evolution. It's a coin flip, but on heads, the Dark Pupitar would at least evolve. Of course, the Furret would get picked off on the bench, but you have an attach for next turn for a Mountain Smasher. And yeah, we see a Warp here. Explosive Evolution's coming. Oh, it's a Tails. That's too bad. That's a cool attack. I wish it was a heads. On heads, it would have been 10 to everything on VenuCenter's side of the board, and Pupitar would have evolved. Another grass attached, so I assume we're going to see some discarding. Nope, it's a retreat. Yeah, didn't even need to. Solar Beam for super effective damage will take out the Pupitar. We're down to 2 prizes, a Furret and a Larvitar, so I think this is pretty much it. We know that there's a VenuCenter. We know there's a Pokemon Center in hand for Venusaur. Tails on Energy Stadium and attached to Larvitar. I think this is pretty much it. So we'll let them play it out. Thank you for watching. Leave some comments. What do you think of the decks? What would you add? What would you take out? Did you like the addition of Dug Trio? I know VenuCenter did. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.
Oh, to get mad about variants and forget great goals and move on. Why is there a random chance in my card game? So complains about variants. Realize that there was no variants. I'm just dumb and didn't put in great goals and move on.